Long queues have failed to disappear in many Nigerian cities because of the fuel scarcity. Indeed, well, many petrol stations have remained shut, leaving only few stations open that have the product to dispense. But in all of this, the black marketers are having a field day at the expense of consumers. Now, TVC News is monitoring developments across the country. Let's bring you some reports on that.
Major fuel stations in Adamawa State, particularly in the capital, Yola, remained shut, leaving motorists and other petrol users to look to the black market, where it sells for between 250 naira to 300 naira a litre. Some buyers say the Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR, is already compromised.
There is a sabotage, but the sabotage is from within. DPR is the saboteur. They are the ones that are operating black markets now.
I don't know where these black market were getting their fuel. If you observe, even that area, you can see them with jerrycan. Where are they getting this fuel?
Highways in Kaduna nearly deserted with very little vehicular presence on them. The people have certainly seen better days than now. Many of those whose vehicles are still on the road tell me they've been paying through their noses.
Honestly, we are suffering. And we cannot continue like this. In fact, as I'm talking to you in Kaduna now, we don't even know when this thing will come to an end.
Elsewhere, the black market is booming. The streets are littered with young people making fast cash, occasioned by the torrid times. And driving a little further, we caught up with this queue spanning several kilometers on Muhammadu Buhari Way. Commuters have been here for nearly a week, waiting for when the product will be available. They tell me they are not sure of when it will come, but are still keeping hope alive.
Hardly will you see 2 filling stations in Kaduna Metropolis, to be specific, that is selling fuel.
Long queues still linger in the metropolis at some of the fuel stations that are dispensing the commodity. Unlike these fuel stations along the popular Mission Hill Road that leads into and out of Umuahia, NNPC, Total, Tonimas closed their gates to customers. Commuters who spoke to TVC News expressed their frustration.
Because I have a business to catch up and I cannot wait. The queue is long. I'm getting used to it because I have been doing it since on the 26th of December.
I've been here since early morning. We've been here. I think this is the only place selling. All other filling stations are closed.
The commodity at the black market sells for 350 naira, while at full pumps, it sells at 210 naira.
Few days into the new year and the scarcity of fuel has still not abated in Rivers State. Just a handful of petrol stations in the state capital, Port Harcourt, can be seen dispensing the product, and that number reduces even further in the search for stations selling at the official pump price of 145 naira per litre.
This country, we don't need to suffer this kind of thing we are suffering about fuel. This country, Port Harcourt per se, look at the refinery, you can trek to the refinery, yet we are suffering for fuel.
Department of Petroleum Resources, they are supposed to be regulating all these petroleum prices. You understand? But what would they do? Each of these people, they have their own filling station. DPRO, you see. The staff, they have their filling, so they cannot even go there and say they want to control the price of petrol.
Yeah, you saw all that now from Lagos to Abuja to Kaduna to Umuahia to Port Harcourt. It's just a glimpse of what you are getting across the country. It's the same thing in Sokoto, it's the same thing in Benue, it's the same thing in Maiduguri.
Everywhere.
Same thing everywhere. Wow. Okay, we still have joining us Dr. Danekere of the University of Lagos to analyze this. And joining him is Ahmed Abbas, human rights activist and a lawyer as well. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
And Happy New Year.
Same to you.
All right. Let me start with you, Ahmed. The issue of fuel scarcity has been on for some time, and you know, meetings upon meetings. You know, the president has given his order. We want there to be, and all of that. Up until now, we're still faced with the same problem. From your perspective and what you're seeing, we heard some of those in the report saying there's sabotage within the system. Could this really be the bane or the crux of what's going on?
Thank you. Most times, if you go to filling stations, you'll see them selling in one pump. And you could have 10 pumps. And when you ask them, sometimes they tell you that is the only pump that has fuel. And I've been a witness, witness to a DPR visit to a filling station. They investigated and discovered that there were other pumps having fuel that they were not selling. They arrested the manager, took him out, and in 10, 15, 20 minutes time, they drove back to the same filling station to drop the manager in front of the filling station, and business as usual. The whole thing boils down to corruption. Most times, it's not as if there are no fuels. Or sometimes, even the depot themselves hold marketers to ransom. You want to regulate a price. You want them to sell at 145,000. The man gets to the depot to lift fuel, and he's told to pay far above the 145,000 naira that he's supposed to be selling to the public. How is that possible? So if you can't control the corruption at the depot, and your DPR, in fact, it boils down to even the issue of restructuring. DPR, as a unit of government, does not have the personnel, the capacity to monitor the entire filling stations all over the country. It would have been better if the states, that's why the issue of restructuring, the center is too big, is too large. It's taking on too much that it can't handle. You don't have the personnel to go around the whole federation monitoring the entire filling station. What's their staff strength in DPR? You know how many filling stations you have in Lagos alone? All over Nigeria, and you want them to monitor? Once there is no effective enforcement mechanism, when you have regulators that do not have the capacity to regulate what you ask them to regulate, you'll have this kind of anomaly in every sector.
And that's why we have it every year. And
it has become a for me, it's just, you can always predict that in the next 1 year, you are going to have fuel crisis.
In the same period. All right,
do you know there are some filling stations that don't even sell fuel during normal seasons? They buy the stockpile and wait for crisis period.
You're absolutely
and that's
right.
when they sell. And there are filling stations that people don't go to. They don't sell. They have fuel, but they just wait for the opportune time to say, okay, when there's scarcity, we sell
it.
You're
right. I know some filling stations like that. Okay, so let me come to you. We're talking about all of this now because Nigeria is not refining its own crude oil. That is why we're talking about DPR not doing the right thing, and then it goes on and on. So you have it in abundance, and then marketers will tell you that they cannot import fuel anymore because of the landing price of 171 naira. That is only NNPC, and then we are here, 4 refineries not working, and we're waiting for the Messiah, Dangote Refinery.
Yes, and eventually the Messiah might be a demon at the end if care is not taken, because you do a better evaluation of a man with his antecedent. You discover that in practically every segment, every line of business that Dangote goes, he seems to be afraid of competition. And interestingly, he has resources to take over, whatever is in that area. Once Dangote moves into any realm of business, he ensures that he takes possession of the entire system. And I won't be surprised if there's even an arrangement between the authorities and Dangote himself to take up, because I remember some time ago, a former managing director of a bank actually opened his mouth to say that it is more profitable for Nigeria to import fuel than for the refineries to function. And in the meantime, yes, we import and that is more economical and all of that, only to kill the refineries for Dangote, maybe at the end of the day to buy them over, because I know that is where the thing is.
Speculatively, anyway.
Yes, we are looking at it from antecedent. That has been. Okay. So it will be shocking to me if by tomorrow the 4 refineries end up being Dangote's, subsidiaries. Because why would a country that has 4 refineries wait for the one that is yet to function before the 4 refineries will function? What does it take to, because at the end of the day, when you look at plus or minus, you are exporting crude. It is refined abroad. You now import, the refined product. even if it's an arrangement of you refine for us, it is still not as profitable as when you refine. At least if you cannot refine and export, you refine for local consumption, then sell your crude abroad.
And it's quite interesting that the 3 refineries were built for about $1.9 billion and about $1.6 billion have been spent to refurbish and maintain them, yet they are not working.
I even want to believe that we'll spend more than that to refurbish them, because
well, officially,
turnaround maintenance.
Yes, turnaround. You know, I remember some time ago, some billions, and as at then, what was the exchange rate? I can't remember, but I do know that there was a time Chrome Oil Services did a turnaround maintenance of one of the refineries, and they ended up turning it around to to weakness and non-functionality.
All right, Abbas, let me come to you back. Let me come back to you on this. The issue of Dangote Refinery. Certainly, if there are refineries, why not? It's good for the people, but the confidence, it seemed like the only messiah, like she was putting it, it seemed like, because we speak to some government officials, we speak to Nigerians, and everyone seemed to be waiting for the almighty Dangote refineries. But from your perspective, is that going to be the solution to the problems of fuel in Nigeria?
You know, all along, the environment has actually hampered investors coming into the refining sector, and because of the unpredictable nature of the Nigerian system. Virgin came into Nigeria, you signed an agreement with them. In the middle of the transaction, you keep shifting the goalposts. No businessman. Dangote is simply a Nigerian who is taking the risk, and because he also knows there's so much potential within the but for an outsider, he knows how to play his game within the Nigerian system. He has his foot on ground. We ought not to be where we are, because there are people who want to invest, but the unpredictable nature of the Nigerian policy makers. They could sign an agreement with you today. How do you want me to come into an industry that you are going to regulate the price for me to sell, regardless of my production cost? No businessman wants to do that. But like I said, because he's a Nigerian, and he knows how to maneuver his way, I mean, weather the storm, you know, navigate through the crevices and all the rest of them. He's willing to take the risk because the potential is there. But as an outsider, they are scared. They've issued licenses to many investors.
Modular refineries.
Who refuse to just come in, because you can't be dictating price. See, when you do not have control, I've not been to, look, you don't need anybody to tell you that. You don't need to have PhD in economic development for you to know. If you do not have control over the production of a particular product, you cannot dictate the price.
Absolutely.
You can't dictate the price. You are not in control of the supply, except you have control over the supply of a product that you are the custodian, or probably you enjoy monopoly, or you have control to either flood the market with the product when the price is skyrocketing and you want to bring it down, or when the price is probably dwindling and you want to withhold supply to maintain equilibrium. If you do not have control over the supply of a product, you can't dictate the price. It's just like the Lagos State, I mean, a government coming out to say you want to regulate rent in the houses you are not providing. How do you want to say a flat in a Ikeja should be 100,000 naira per annum when you are not the one building the houses?
Exactly.
You can't dictate the price. So except you have control over the supply of a product, you don't have control over how much that product should be sold in the marketplace. All you need to do as a welfare government is to constantly ensure that players in that industry play within the rules guiding the industry, and that the people are not exploited. But for you to say a product that is being produced in Bayelsa must also be sold at this, sold the same in somewhere in Maduguri and Borno and all the rest of them, you are simply creating
now you're
problem.
saying yes, and that somehow the ball is still in the court of the government to do the right thing. But then when you see the way things are being run, you wonder if the government, some have been saying that really, that if the government is not even sabotaging its own efforts. Why are tank farms not in strategic location, for example, in the 6 geopolitical zones of the country? Why should they come to Lagos to pick fuel for other parts of the country? It's very simple.
No, but look at it this way. When you import fuel, where do you bring them to? Where do you land? Is in Lagos. Who moves them from Lagos to other parts of the country? Is it the government? Now, you expect somebody who will come from Maiduguri to lift fuel in Lagos to sell at the same rate. You expect the one, in fact, you call some states oil producing, and those same states come to Lagos to lift fuel to their state. I mean, what an irony. Now, you expect these people to sell at the same rate Lagos is selling. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work. Let's even assume you are paying subsidy. Now, does it include the cost of transportation from Lagos to their various states? Or is the cost of the landing or what? So when you look at all these things together, except people are able to import fuel, you know, not just only the NNPC, and they are able to sell at a price that is convenient, considering the cost of importation, that you can begin to talk about, you know, availability of fuel and the queues disappearing and the rest. As it is today, I have my doubts whether the government is actually prepared to do all of this, because for as long as only NNPC is importing, number one, it will be difficult for NNPC to actually satisfy the market. Demands. That is one. Two, NNPC does not even have facilities to store. Let's even assume you have so much resources you can import as much. Where do you keep them? Where do you store them? They don't have tank farms. They don't have places to keep this product. So at the end of the day, you will still be relating with these marketers to store this. And I'm sure that you will store it, you know, free of charge. There's no way you bring your fuel.
There's a cost for that as well.
Are you getting it? So you keep on incurring cost upon cost. And the way this thing is lingering, I won't be surprised if there's a plan to increase the pump price. And all these gimmicks that are going on in the name of, oh, NNPC is doing this, Barrow is this.
Because there have been elaborate explanations on the amount they are bringing it in, 171 naira.
There is no way, and you gave us the impression that all of that was gone. There was nothing like subsidy.
So it is either to justify the increment in price or bring back subsidy in full scale. Honestly. All right, Abbas, at the beginning or the inception of this administration, the president himself decided he will be the Minister of Petroleum in order to make things, you know, because a lot of Nigerians have the notion that he is experienced. He's been Minister of Petroleum before.'s been head of state before.
And he performed well
exactly, and then he's been chairman of PTF.
Which I know you don't believe in.
So whether they are, but that is a perception generally. And then when he said he was going to be Minister of Petroleum, a lot of people said, okay, fine, why not become Minister of Petroleum? And then
people didn't say fine. Just that we couldn't take it from him.
Yeah, but a lot of people, but they were in too much of protest. A lot of people said, well, let's give him the go ahead. Let's see what is going to happen if he's going to bring sanity to the sector. But as it is right now, 2.5 years down the line, with the president being Minister of Petroleum, has there been any difference? Is there justification for him to be called Minister of Petroleum?
For me, there's been no difference, because the problem that is bedeviling the petroleum sector, especially coming from the angle of NNPC's management of this thing, has remained the same. There has been no difference. NNPC is either corrupt, and the ability to constantly ensure supply of the product is not guaranteed. So for me, there is no difference. See, the solution to this issue of fuel crisis is very simple. It is not rocket science. Open up the space for more players to come inside. A situation where there's NNPC is the sole, what do you call it? It's like a monopoly. An institution that is also corrupt and inefficient can never guarantee free flow of fuel. All you need to do is open up the space.
Well, NNPC is promising now from the papers today that they'll be selling directly to the market.
See, I mean, how can they, look, NNPC, look, how many filling stations, will they set up filling stations virtually in every street? If you look at the telecom industry, when they came, I think a SIM was almost about 45,000 naira those days.
When they started?
When they started, it was 45,000 naira. You need to be a big boy to have a phone then. Gradually, new players came in.
And the minute call was equally so costly.
Yes, you know, so gradually new companies came in, the price started coming down. At the point in that, they told us per second it's impossible. Until one guy came, introduce a below the belt kind of, per second billing. And the other ones that told us it wasn't possible. Now, SIM card is literally
It's free,
more or less. They beg you on the roads to buy their SIM card every day by day. The same way. It's very simple. Introduce more players. Let them allow market forces to drive. Regulate the industry very well and ensure nobody plays foul. You will see that these things will be available.
Okay. All right. Well, the promise.
Importantly, the refineries should be made to work.
That was what I was about to say. The promise was
if the government is sincere about this
month.
idea, the first thing to do to convince us that the government is sincere by ensuring that the products are available is to ensure that the refineries work.
Okay. We'll see how that will play out. Anyway, we have to wrap it at this point. Thank you very much. Ahmed Abbas, lawyer, public affairs analyst. Thank you for coming. And of course, Dr. Dan Ekere, lecturer, University of Lagos. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.